All right, today we are diving into a really fascinating book from way back in 1906. It's called The Life Power by Elizabeth Towne, and it's basically a guide to unlocking this incredible force that she argues most of us don't even realize we have. Let's see what she was onto.
You know that feeling, right? When it seems like all your best laid plans just get completely derailed by things that are totally out of your control? You feel like a puppet, just getting tossed around by events, constantly reacting to a world that just happens to you.
But what if that feeling is completely wrong? What if we've got it backward? Towne's idea, which was pretty radical for 1906, is that the material world we're always reacting to, that's just the stage. The real power, the strings that are actually moving everything, they're not out there. They're in here, inside us.
Okay, so to really get this, we have to start by looking beyond the world we can see and touch. Towne basically says that our whole feeling of being powerless comes from one simple mistake. We're completely fixated on the visible, on the material stuff, which is really just the world of effects.
Just think about it for a second. We see our business fail, and we blame the economy. We see ourselves get sick, and we blame a virus. But Towne says those are just the final results, the effects. The real causes are these invisible forces, this constant dance between creation and dissolution that we are completely ignoring.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Towne reframes these two big ideas we usually think of as total enemies. On one side, you've got what she calls the destroyer principle, kind of like the devil, whose job is to dissolve old, worn-out forms. On the other, you have the builder, or God, who creates new things. But here's the twist. They're not fighting. They are two essential parts of one single process of change.
And this quote just nails the point. That destruction we're so afraid of, losing a job, a relationship ending, it's not just an ending. According to Towne, it's actually clearing the ground. The destroyer is just wiping the slate clean so something new and even more beautiful can be created.
So, okay, if this whole world of unseen causes is so important, how in the world do we tune into it? How do we stop being the puppets and actually start working with these deeper forces? Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into next.
So first off, let's be clear on what we're talking about. When Towne says the unseen, she means this enormous, invisible reservoir of pure creative energy. It's the world of thought, of pure potential. It's the raw stuff that everything we see and touch is actually made from. It's the real source of it all.
Now, to make this idea less abstract, she uses this amazing analogy for her time, a photographic plate. Just imagine your mind is this incredibly delicate, sensitive surface, totally ready to receive an impression.
Okay, so here's how it works. The unseen is like the light that's all around us, and it's filled with all this invisible information and potential. Now, to get a picture, you have to hold the camera, which is your attention, steady. Whatever you consistently focus on, that's the image that gets impressed onto the plate of your mind. And if you hold that mental image long enough and with enough feeling, it eventually develops into your physical reality.
This brings us right to the practical part. If our minds are really that powerful, how do we start using them on purpose? How do we actually master this inner magnet that's constantly pulling our life experiences towards us?
So check this out. Towne estimates that only about 5% of what's going on in our heads is actually conscious. That's the part of you listening to me right now, the part that thinks and makes choices. It's the director. But the real powerhouse, a whopping 95% of your mental life, is subconscious. That's the world of your habits, your deep emotions, your instincts.
And here's the absolute kicker. That massive 95%, that's the magnet. That's what is actually attracting the conditions, the people, and the events of your life based on its deepest, most habitual patterns of thought and feeling. It's what Towne calls the heart.
So how does the little 5% director actually influence the huge 95% powerhouse? Well, Towne's main technique is a practice she calls the silence. Now, this isn't about having an empty mind. It's the exact opposite. It's about a focused mind. It's the act of deliberately pulling your attention away from all the noise of the outside world and holding it steady on the reality you want to impress from the unseen.
So you see how it all clicks together? The silence is the tool. It's the practice of concentration that lets your conscious mind purposefully give new instructions, new images, new feelings to that giant subconscious magnet. You're literally reprogramming what you attract into your life.
Now, when you start to master this inner world, it has a huge effect on how you act and feel out in the real world. It actually moves you up a ladder from a life of obligation to one of real power and joy.
Towne lays out this incredible evolution of what motivates us. At the bottom, we start at the level of impulse, just chasing our animal wants, which never really satisfies us. Then, we evolve to the level of duty, where we act from our conscience, and that brings a sense of peace. But the highest stage, the ultimate goal, is acting from love, from this deep, joyful alignment with your inner self. That's where the real power is hiding.
And let's be really clear here. Duty is super important. It's the discipline that gets us out of the chaos of impulse. But Towne warns us not to get stuck there. Living your whole life out of a cold, hard sense of what you should do, that's not the destination. It's more like a strict teacher that we're meant to eventually outgrow.
This quote just captures that transformation perfectly. When you start to find the love in what you have to do, when you pour your soul into it, that feeling of obligation just dissolves. Duty gets swallowed up by love, and what's left is this powerful, joyful, creative energy.
So what is the end result of this whole inner journey? It's a complete flip in how we think about power and our place in the universe. It's really about becoming your own creator.
But here's the great paradox of it all. All this talk about personal power, it's not about gritting your teeth and forcing your will onto the world. The real secret, Towne says, is to do the opposite. It's to stop fighting the current. It's about surrender.
Surrender to what, you ask? To what she calls the all-will. You can think of it like this great cosmic river of life. It's the universal intelligence that is always flowing, always creating, and always moving toward more growth, more beauty, and more expression.
And that's the ultimate perspective shift, right there. You don't have to go out and create this power. It's already here. It's everywhere. Towne calls it the I Am God, and it's working right here, right now. Your only job is to stop resisting, to stop paddling against the current with your own tiny will, and instead just align yourself with that massive flow and let it pour right through you.
So after more than 100 years, Towne's message really boils down to this one powerful question for each of us. When you look at your life, your work, your health, your relationships, are you fighting the current or are you flowing with it?